The complaints body of Garda Síochána Ombudsman Commission GSOC will be renamed the Office of the Policing Ombudsman, with redesigned processes and greater financial independence. The body itself will be restructured, replacing the current three-person commission with an ombudsman and deputy ombudsman. Glossy bills and glossy legislation isn't going to fix our serious problem that we have in this country. And Arcade she's wake is the goal in the Garda Síochána Galéir. I want to thank the vast majority of the Garda Síochána for standing. It's a very fine line between the people and anarchy, and the wrong people and anarchy. And we saw what happened last night in Oman when was condemned that out of hand assorted attack. But our Garda Síochána have been welcome, but they're not being supported by successive governments, not only you minister, but successive governments. And this is all fine and dandy. It's lovely flowery language. You probably got consultants to design it and write it up and everything else. The bill will establish an Office of Independent Examiner of National Security, modelled somewhat on the UK equivalent, extensive oversight and adjudicative powers. I don't have any faith whatsoever in it. We have had systems. We have had in Garda Síochána who served us well, and we have now at the moment a community policing structure, which I'll be attending Tipperary Joint Policing Committee tomorrow morning. But what do you do to us? You sent our Chief Superintendent, no disrespect to Dr. McNamara, to County Limerick, Goodee and Clore in Ennis. So now he's probably 2.5 hours away from most parts of Tipperary, and we always had a dedicated, a Chief Superintendent in Tipperary. This new grandiose plan again, which is a disaster. We are so scarce in Gardaí in Tipperary, it's not funny anymore. And I, a lot of the time, wouldn't want to be saying it here because you'd be telling the wrong people that find out. But take Carrick-on-Suir, which is in Clonmel District. There's 4 rosters operating at present. It's 3, since COVID, which is the best thing ever happened, the 3 rosters, because the Gardaí will tell you it has been a successful roster. The talks are putting that back to 4. As it stands with 3, they don't have enough members now in Carrick-on-Suir Garda Station, 24-hour station, to fill 1 roster. I want to pay tribute to Garda Pat Kelly, who retired recently. So this is an alarming situation. A town that has got plenty of problems. And I mind the town, a huge geographical area as well. So you can have all these purposes of this bill to strengthen the governance of AGS, and including to the creation of non-executive board of Garda Síochána. I'll put it away because I'll get annoyed reading it, because I know it's all lovely design. Lovely like super plans you have for different buildings developments, but it ain't worth the ink and the paper it's written on, because it's not going to happen. What we need are boots on the ground and support for the boots on the ground. And where there are wrong boots on the ground or offensive or doing things wrong, they need to be weeded out. And they are there as well. Tiny minority, but they're pernicious. Look at Limerick, we have allegations against Gardaí. They're out suspended with how many years, which is totally unfair to them as well and their families. Either they'll be brought to court or else left back working, paid at home, and that's, because there are allegations against them, which is enough of a suffering for them. But it must be dealt with, not pushed under the carpet and on and on and on and back and forward and hither and nowhere. And I have experience of the Garda Ombudsman and GSOC as well, and the forerunners as well, and I have little faith in them. I have a constituent on to me who made a complaint 13 months ago about intimidation from a member of Garda Síochána. He made a complaint, and that complaint is languishing there 13 months later. There was a superintendent appointed to investigate it, and then the member who the complaint was made about objected. He said he's acquainted with some of the people. That's no excuse for not being dealt with. I have 2 young men who lost their lives of hell big head 13, 14 years ago now. And the Gardaí investigation, it was the Marine Casualty Board, who are unfit and unable, have no investigative powers really, and didn't do it, and the Garda Síochána stood idly by. And we've had more meetings with the Garda Síochána in Dungarvan, and indeed chief superintendents and assistant commissioners, all for nothing. And the families are waiting for answers, and it's going on that length of time now, and no answers back. The anguish and the suffering, no closure. But how long is a piece of string? And that's what's happened to them. They've been left languishing there. And I salute Anne-Marie O'Brien and her family for persisting with this case. There's hundreds of other cases like that. Minister. And it's a pity Minister Harris has gone, because I was going to ask him to meet with a family in his own constituency. From his own constituency, the Temple family, Lisa Temple and her daughter were mercilessly dragged out of their beds by a large number of men some time ago, a year ago now, and indeed in the middle of the night, under darkness, and 2 Gardaí sitting in a patrol car out in the street who refused to help. They were supervising the visit. So the situation where banks, and we saw that in Balbriggan as well, and many other, I've been present at other evictions and other horrible takeovers and repossessions, where the Gardaí shouldn't be there at all. They're a peacekeeping force, and they shouldn't be aiding and abetting bailiffs and indeed marauding gangsters that are acting as security men with no proper security, nothing short of thuggery being carried out. And we need that weighed out, completely weighed out. And in Balbriggan case, they parked all their vehicles in the Garda station in Balbriggan. Just imagine. And the Temple case, they refused to intervene. And they refused. And I want the Minister of Justice to examine that case and root out the wrong, because they're doing so much damage, a small number of Gardaí, there's so much damage to the reputation of the force that it's not funny. It's quite shocking. And all these glossy bills and glossy proposals are useless. Australian government, Australian Commissioner has advertised in recent times for Irish members of the Garda Síochána and England members to join the forces out there. Remember, most of our Gardaí have degree courses. They got 800 applications in 24 hours. Does that not tell us something? We're standing up here the last 3 years or 4 years telling the Guards, telling the Taoiseach and the ministers here that there's something wrong. The Gardaí are exiting the force. They're beaten, battered, bruised and intimidated. The good Gardaí, the wrong ones I have no truck for. They should be rooted out. It's only tarnishing the force. And that's supported. I have excellent Gardaí in Tipperary. In my area care, we have an excellent community team of Ginny Goff, Julie Avern and indeed Pádraig O'Sullivan, who held a fabulous community event in Cahir and East Kilkenny 3 weeks ago tonight and brought in 250 people, the 24th year of it. Excellent people. Do tremendous work. That night was worth its weight in gold 10 times over. But we don't have the numbers. We have John Walsh now replacing the late, great Sergeant Niall O'Halloran, who served us so well, and he succumbed to cancer and lost his life at a young age. But we have those people doing well. But they have no backup, no supports, isolated. We had it in my Rovers and Clonmel and Tipperary recently, where marauding gangs were terrorising the people. One band guard or male guard driving a squad car down a road at 3 or 4 in the morning. And these criminals know well what's going on. No one there, no one in the station, people waiting for calls, people trying to get passports verified, losing their holiday, hardly bought holiday, because there was no one to answer the phone in the 24-hour Garda station to verify the call. The passport office would ring 3 times. So we need root and branch reform, and we need to support the Garda Síochána, not tie them down with red tape, and let them out in the beat. And there is something here about establishing the secretariat side of it, not to have Gardaí doing that kind of work, and I welcome that as well, because we need boots on the ground. We see Templemore. I don't know how many's in there at the moment, very, very little, a fraction of what should be in there. And we're told every time we ask a question here that there's so many that are in the force at present. They're leaving, injury, stress, and indeed retiring early. We had a Garda who came to Clonmel who was the top Garda achiever, female Garda to Clonmel some years ago, and she ran out of the force. Now she has, I understand, allegations of everything, of bullying and other issues as well, but she left the force. Imagine losing members like that with that potential. I said they have degrees, and when they have degrees, then they climb up the ladder pretty fast, which is good as well, but it leaves the squad cars with 1 member now. It leaves Garda station with 1 member or no member. And you tell me that vagabonds and the rogues and the villains don't know that? Of course they do. And I totally condemn what happened in Finglas and any other areas, and there's many areas like Finglas. We see a shop here at the North Face here at Grafton Street. It's been busted 4 times in the last 3 months, just over the road. It's shocking. In Dublin as well, we don't have the numbers to deal with it. Sure, anyway, you can see any night of the week what's going on in our city centres and town centres, and the lack of respect. But housing and mental health and all those issues aren't being dealt with either, so we're aiming for a perfect storm. We're in the teeth of it at the moment. And unless you do something about it, not pious platitudes, and get the Commissioner to acknowledge that his members are not being properly, safely supported. I put that to Mentolas 3 years ago. I was treated with disdain by the said Commissioner, present Commissioner. They're unsafe on their own, out in squad cars and Garda stations. I have a case where a Garda station was supposed to stay inside in the Garda station, lock the doors and just answer the phone. Don't go out in the street on your own, because there are no members to go with her. and they're held up then with courts and everything else. And the prison service leaves an awful lot to desire. Mar Frugal Score, Cahillock. There's huge blackguarding and skullduggery going on in sections of the prison service, and it's turned a blind eye to. It's rotten, the intimidation of good prison officers by rogues and mobs that are operating within Limerick prison especially, and it's disgraceful what's happening. People's lives being destroyed and wrecked, and we turn a blind eye to them. So we go for these investigation channels, and the fox is investigating himself. The fox is minding the chickens here. We need proper people with teeth here that will have proper investigations and support our Gardaí. Good morning.